Well, good afternoon or good evening if you're in the beautiful USA. And if you are overseas, it's already Wonderful Wednesday. I am Bruce, aka the guy in the blue shirt, as I'm known on LinkedIn. And my method is simpler, faster, better. And what I do is I help individuals, teams, organizations, or even families do process cleanup and have some great time doing that. And I am so honored to have Melissa all the way from... Over to you, Melissa.
Davie, Florida.
That's right. Near Fort Lauderdale, right?
Very near Fort Lauderdale. Yeah.
Okay, well, good for you. So thank you for joining me. And we were just catching up in the green room. And I appreciate you being a loyal fan. So thanks for sharing that. And before we start chit-chatting, very conversation here, if you are watching, then we don't know you're watching unless you comment. So just at least say hi. All you have to do is say hi and where you're listening in from, and then we know that you're there. So thank you. And yeah, so contextually, Melissa and I met through comments, and then we met through, I think we might have done something jointly with Gracie Ruth Melendez, right? While back. We might have been on LinkedIn local virtual, I think. So we go quite a ways back, and it's always interesting when you catch up with somebody in real life, or as in real life as we can, after all that time. So thank you for that. Just amazing. And Gracie is an amazing connector and lady, and it was good. Gracie sent me a separate note saying, "Oh, I just love Melissa."
I actually met Gracie through Thane, who was also a mutual connection of ours.
That's right.
He was like a leadership coach for me last year. So yeah, definitely.
Oh, that's right. It was through That's right. It was through conversations, and I hopped on to, because Thane always programs his stuff either way too early in the morning for me, or he'll do it at the same time that I'm live streaming. So yeah, in fact, I chatted to Thane a couple of days ago by phone. So he sent me a little video clip from his Wisdom from the Woods thing. So which I gave him that hashtag. So, and I called him back. I just impromptu call, and we caught up. So hope to see him first time in person in October.
Oh, you're going to have a blast.
Yeah.
Wait till you meet Thane in person. He'll tell you. I mean, Jay and I actually met him last February, and we ended up, breaking bread together, swapping stories. And it was awesome. It was the most awesome time we ever had. And we promised him we'd go back. So we will.
Absolutely. Yeah, you should. And it'll be my first. I mean, I've done a lot of Zooms and a lot of calls and a lot of, we used to have a little group called The Collective when we first started out on LinkedIn, and we used to share and care for each other and help each other out. And, we learned as we went along, that's how we did it. We didn't have any super method. We just learned as we go. So we like doing that.
That's awesome.
All right, so a little bit about our conversation. So I found on East Coast all the posts that you talk a lot about delivering results in the field, and I know you have a green component. So tell us a little bit about East Coast, and then we'll talk about some of the results that you've been doing out there.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I came to East Coast Facilities. Hasn't been quite 2 years yet. I think in June it will make 2 years.
Right.
And, it was a big leap for me. I had been in property management for over 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it just got to the point of where, I felt like worn out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of the nature of the business is like
Right.
based on, solving a lot of problems and not always things in your control, right?
Yeah.
So in wanting to try and do something different, I actually met Joshua Gomez through a mutual friend, and we ended up connecting on, where was it? I don't remember. But anyhow, we ended up connecting. We had dinner a couple times, a big group of us, and I was very forward. And one day I just brought him my resume and I said, I want to come work for you. I love
Right.
what this company stands for. I love, that you put the front line first. I love what makes you, different in this field. I want to
Hmm.
work for you. And, coincidentally, they had a position open for an account executive. He's
Hmm.
like, "You can sell." And I'm like, "Well, I've never done sales, I'm scared and this and that." He goes, "You're going to be fine. I'll train you." I go,
Right.
"Okay, great. All right, good. This is good stuff." So he did. He literally like took me under his wing. Like we were meeting, every day in the office for like a solid couple of days.
Right.
And he literally just train, 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 train. And he made it, we made it happen as a team.
Hmm.
But, I was able to do really well in my first year. And that was, so how do you say it? Reaffirming to myself that if I
Right.
really put my mind to something, I can do it.
Hmm. Yeah.
And yeah, best experience ever. So
Great,
it's
great
just,
advice. Great advice. Yeah,
yeah,
don't be so you brought up some great nuggets of wisdom there. Don't be afraid to be forcefully out there, right? You were
yeah,
bold and you took in your resume.
yep,
The other thing is, recognize good culture, right? If you see good culture and that's something that you're seeking, and
mhm,
you might be, as you said, a little burned out from your prior role, then go after it. And it never harms or hurts to ask, right?
absolutely.
If you don't ask, the answer is always the same, right?
That's right. Yeah, and I just like that, I got over the self-fear, the self-inflicted fear. And I think that was like the key component. I'm like, the only one stopping anyone from doing this is really me. You
Right.
need to just try it. And what are you going to do? You're not going to stop. You'll pick up and try something else if it doesn't work. And
Yeah.
once I just built up
Well,
that
you bring up another nugget about, it's about that belief, right?
Mhm.
We all have strong internal belief, but again, if we don't put it into practice, it doesn't go anywhere, right? It
That's
just
right.
stays humming around inside of us, and we don't then get to share, our value then with other people, and that's what people don't always understand. We have a lot of value that we bring, but if we keep it inside, then so what, right? Makes
That's
us
right.
feel good, but can't get results with others, right? If you don't share it with others.
That's right. 1000% correct.
Results in the field. So, what would you say has been your most positive result at East Coast? What's one thing that stands out for you?
Mhm. So I think one of the biggest things that, was really good for me is number one, rebuilding the confidence in myself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I feel like maybe some of my upbringing in many ways, and just stuff like that. It was a little bit more regimented and limited. And my parents, out of because of the times that they lived, many times are don't do this and be careful with that. And
Right,
it's like, but I'm somebody that's like in love with life just naturally. And I'm like, I want to try things. I want to do things. I'm okay getting hurt and rebuilding again.
right,
I'm okay with that. But, and many times at the same time, I'm like, but they're also there to protect you, right?
right.
So I kind of get, a little tossed in between there, but, really acknowledging my confidence and having the support of people that also believed in me
Uh-huh.
was how I was able to do over $1 million in my first year of sales. And I was like, wow,
That is
Yeah,
huge. That's
that was
massive.
huge. Yeah, and I'm so grateful to my entire team because it wasn't just me, but,
Right.
it took a lot of that self-confidence and reassurance and that support from, within, but also from my team and saying, "This is doable," "Don't limit yourself and stop your own head from getting in your way?"
Yeah, you bet. So, interesting enough, we didn't talk about this before, to show it is fully unscripted what we do. My my 2023 word is dare. So you talked about being a little bit more daring. And so that's
Ah.
actually my 2023 action word is dare. So we will see. We will see how all that goes. And I've got a vision board to help me keep visualizing that so that and it's
So
right
do
to the
we.
right. Good. It's right to the right of me. So yeah, I saw it was interesting that you guys worked on that. So
Yeah.
so what was so let's talk about a result that didn't happen. What maybe some lessons learned from, obviously it was awesome that you achieved that financial sales goal, but what about some lessons learned from not achieving the results in the field that you might have liked to? What were the things you took away from that?
I think, obviously sales is one of those things. I feel like also that, there's many components to the sales process, right?
Yeah.
And I saw, both on a whiteboard, if you will, that,
Right.
when you kind of fall short in any part of that pipeline,
Uh-huh.
how you become your own worst enemy, right?
Right. Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so this is back on me. And, if I was able to do this well in just the capacity that I did, imagine if you really would have been more diligent, about, certain components of, just really updating things more regularly and pushing things out more regularly. Imagine
Right.
what you really could have done. So I said, okay, so this is notes or a takeaway for me to say maybe get a little bit more organized, or, just really you got to collaborate more on all different levels of clients and supporting team members, operations and things, and understanding that I don't work alone. I
Right.
can't deliver results alone. It's a joint effort.
Mhm.
I can sell all day, but at the same time, it's got to be doable from an operational standpoint, right?
Yep.
So really, collaborating with ops, and particularly my current supervisor, Brian,
Mhm.
who, like that, he was able to really train me on learning more about plants, understanding different pathogens and things like that,
Right.
and, helping me at the same time to just be more knowledgeable about, plants and everything. I had a love for it already, but he just really, opened up a whole different world and saying, no, it works like this, it works like that, and, educating me on different ones, different
Right.
pathogens. So it's been, yeah, very, very enlightening.
Awesome. Yeah. So you made some really good points there about, I think you were talking about potentially cutting corners or skipping steps in the process. Would that be a good summary of some of that?
Yeah, I would say so. Or just, getting lazy at certain times, and
Right.
understanding, you,
Yeah.
you got to stay on it.
Yeah. So it brings up, and it's a kind of a theme of things I've been trying to do this year, which is trying to get people to realize that you can do things your way in a certain way, but there are steps, and I like to call them the 4 C's. And I thank Mary Fane Brandt and I, who actually, her and I lead LinkedIn local in-person groups here.
Mhm.
And our next event is February 21st. And we've got pretty much all of our steps pretty well documented. But more importantly, I'm trying to get people on LinkedIn, particularly because it's my primary platform, to not skip the steps. So you might relate to this because we talked about this in the green room, but people don't realize it's starting with the conversation that leads to a connection that could either deepen or just stay as what I call a click connection, and that's okay. But the conversation leads to connection, and ideally from those connections, you build a community. And you also told me a little bit about the fact that, I didn't know you were a silent member of my community. You used to watch my live streams on Friday. So
Yeah.
thank you for that.
I was
And
gonna say there was a point in time, Bruce, I gotta tell you, this is funny. Just being a mom and, at one point a single mom,
right.
many times I'd spend Friday nights home just like cooking or something. I love to cook.
Right.
And I would actually like leave LinkedIn Live. And I really got motivated by the people that I would listen to on your show. And I didn't comment or anything, but I kind of left it on. And while I'm cooking in the kitchen, like, anybody would tell you I'm not a big TV person. I'm
Right.
way bigger of a YouTuber than anything
Uh-huh.
else, and just of LinkedIn Live. And I would listen to your show and the people you would bring on. I'm like, wow, who is this person and what do they
Right.
do? I
Mhm.
think you did one, if I remember her, and she really stood out to me, Erica Warfield.
Yeah, Erica. Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah, and I
yeah.
remember just listening to it, I'm like, "Wow," like, so motivated by different people, and I'm like, "But if they can do this, why can't I? What makes somebody better than the other? Nothing." So I'm like, "Yeah, I need to stop, stopping myself, really,"
Right.
you know?
Yeah, and you raise another piece of that puzzle. So the fourth C is, from that you build a community, and then you end up narrowing it down to people that you really want to collaborate with, and
Yep.
you're not always going to collaborate with everybody. In fact, my numbers are pretty low, like most people. I'm usually in the 6% or less range. So, out of all the conversations, the connections, people in the community, I'm ultimately only going to work with collaboratively 6% or less. So,
Right.
and again, people try and what they don't realize is they try and go right from the connection straight to collaboration.
Mm,
Or
yeah.
they want to go right from the conversation, or one direct message or email to pitching why you should collaborate with them, and it's like, no, it doesn't work like that.
Right. It's building a relationship, and in my field, I one of the things is I try to listen for, and I can honestly tell you, Bruce, probably one of the most valuable lessons I learned would be listening.
Yeah.
Because I figure so many times we get caught up in talking and we want to just blah, 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 and I'm
Right.
like, if you listen, people will tell you 95% of what you want to know already,
Hmm.
at least. And then from there, because my question in my head is, how can I help this person? What
Hmm.
are they seeking? What are they looking for?
Right.
Are you unhappy about something? How can I make that different? And even as I'm listening, I'm answering these questions in my head, and many times jotting down notes, because I'm very much old school when it comes to
Right.
handwriting notes.
Me too.
Um, it, yeah, and I'm like, okay, now I know everything I need to know.
Hmm.
And not even that, it makes them feel like, "Hey, she heard me," you
Hmm.
know? So it's just a win-win.
It is, and so let's talk about verbal diarrhea, right? Verbal diarrhea comes for me from being passionate about something. So, we started on a little conversation offline in the green room about IndyCar racing, right? And,
Oh,
and you
yeah,
you could tell, like, boom, I was like into delivering all this stuff. So,
yeah,
but what was really interesting is great point you demonstrated, because you listened, you picked up on the fact that, I'm a car guy. And
yep.
so I know you wanted to give a shout out to somebody that you've got to know, like, and trust. And I think he's your fiance, right?
Yes, 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 yes. So my fiance recently, I'm so proud of him, but he left his current position, and he did it only because he wanted to fulfill like another passion.
Mm-hmm.
And I basically told him, I'm like, you got to do something that excites you,
Yeah.
something that you wake up in the morning and you're happy. You're happy to go and do whatever it is that you have to do. And he felt the same. He did.
Hmm.
And
Right.
I think, that was why it was just so easy for him. And he's like, "You know what? It's gonna be more work, but at least it's the type of work I wanna do?"
Yeah.
And so as a matter of fact, he ended up going into business with his brother. His
Awesome.
brother has been a Land Rover, Range Rover, car sales, and, basically buying, selling, trading, customizing, like a broker of cars, well, only for British,
Right.
for a long time. And recently, the mechanic right next door to him ended up retiring. So he said,
Huh?
"Hey, well, me and my brother will buy your company." you know, so now he is running the British four-wheel drive company, and I'll put a link in the comments in a little bit. But yeah, so now, you know, one buys, sells, trades. You got to check out their site. It's really awesome. And the other one, you know, is basically running the mechanics and customization of it. So
Awesome.
the two of them are just doing, you know, absolutely excellent and loving it, you know. And then you get to work with family. What's better, you know?
Yeah, what's better? And remind me of his first name, because
So that's Jonathan J. Jagoda.
Jonathan. All right. So
Yeah.
Jonathan, if you're listening in, which we hope you are, then you just say hi. All you gotta do is in the comments say hi. We know you're there. But if you're not, it's okay. You'll Melissa will get the replay and she'll get the recording, which I know she'll want to show to you. So yeah, we'll give a shout out to Jonathan. What's his brother's name?
Ken.
Ken and
Ken
Jonathan. All
Jagoda.
right.
And he
Yeah.
has Surfside 4x4.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So again, great example. See, if you listen well enough, you'll very often find common ground between people, right? And then once you can get onto that common ground, the conversation just goes a whole lot easier. You don't have to force the conversation; it just flows, and that's a great credit to you in terms of tuning into your listening skills. So good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
So 2023, what have you got coming up in the next quarter, either for East Coast or for because you're also a real estate professional as well, right? So
yeah, I've kind of backed off the real estate just because, you know, the market's very uncertain.
yeah,
You know, I do retain my license.
good for
I
you.
retain my property management license as well. And really, you know, it just enables me to stay, you know, current with what's going on in the markets and how to best serve my clients from a landscaping realm, right? So
Absolutely,
that's really where it's at. And I think like that, you know, once you understand somebody else's, you know, they're like, what is it? You walk a mile in somebody else's shoes, like you'll
yeah,
understand. So
yeah,
just like that, it really positions me to understand what's going on. Recently, a lot of the HOA and condo sector has experienced a lot of different
hmm
hardships from legislation that are coming down and requirements that, you know, they're
right,
being forced to abide by. And that many times affects their landscaping budget.
right.
So it also in turn would affect, you know, how we are connecting with them and, you know, the services we provide and what we can do to modify, you know, our service to be able to best serve them, you
hmm
know?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's fun.
I used to be on a HOA board, so been on
Uh,
a HOA board twice, so I understand. And I was on one in California, which was even more tricky because California always over legislates. It always uses a sledgehammer to crack a nut when they could use nutcrackers, but that's the way they do it in California. So yeah,
how fun.
yeah, it's good that it's staying up to date and being in alignment with, your potential buyer is super important. So that's good.
Yep,
So,
exactly.
so any special projects for East Coast facilities in the next quarter? Got any
Um,
new stuff coming up?
yeah, actually we did. I mean, you know, as a company as a whole, you know, I'll highlight the fact that, you know, they just made a big sale in Hershey, Pennsylvania. So they got all of Hershey for the
Awesome.
snow markets and the landscape markets. Really good there. And
hmm
then in addition to that, I mean, down here, you know, our landscape is very different from what they go through in the snow
Right.
world,
No.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So in down here, we're just expanding like our target markets, if you will,
hmm
more into like luxury, more into commercial, more into medical, more into luxury resorts, you know,
Right.
just really going for a higher level client that may not be as affected by some of the uncontrollable factors of the economies and things like that. So,
Hmm.
it's good. It's good for me. It puts a little bit more of a challenge, which I love a good challenge.
Right.
Um, but it's expansion, it's growth. So it's all good. I'm not afraid of it. It's
Yeah.
just you got to be ready to grow.
Yeah. Yeah, just a little shout out if you are listening in. We can't tell you're not you're listening in unless you comment. Just say hi. That's what we want you to do. And sometimes it's funny. StreamYard doesn't like hooking up sometimes. So often the comments are there, and then we don't see them. So yeah. So if you're there, please say hello. We don't want to be just out here talking alone, right?
Oh.
Ah, that's right. So when you say upscale, that would be higher end communities in the
Mhm.
Fort Lauderdale. Well, how big's your region? I
Well,
should.
that's what I was gonna say. So actually right now, I mean, and we're growing quite rapidly, so they're probably gonna end up bringing on more salespeople down here. But right
Mhm.
now, I'm pretty much, well, me and my whole team, I should really say, right?
Right,
Collaboratively, we all do and take care of both, or all of Palm Beach, Broward, and Miami.
right.
We have 3 branches down here,
Okay,
and that we have tons of equipment and trucks, and we're able to literally provide any landscape service need that anyone would need.
okay.
We have licensed arborists on staff, IPM, just everything and anything you can imagine when it comes to enhancement work, design, just we do it all. And we have, big resources to be able to provide it, as where some of the smaller mom and pops may not have, the same equipment and resources that we do,
Right.
you know.
So what's maybe one of the most unusual projects you've seen you guys curate and put into place? What's an unusual one
Ooh.
or a unique one, whichever? Yeah,
Hmm. Unique.
or unusual.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to think. Uh, you know what's funny? It's been happening a lot lately, and it's a big issue, if you will, sometimes, but we're just learning how to kind of navigate it. We're getting a lot of high rises, right? And this has been coming because part of, since the Surfside that had happened, the
Right,
catastrophe, um, they now have made it that, everybody needs to get in compliance with structural
right.
and electrical reviews. So a
Mhm.
lot of these buildings are coming to find that, the several components of which they thought were, no big deal. Yeah, no,
Mhm.
now you got to get it fixed. So
Right.
what's happening, right? In our world, we're finding a lot of these condos,
Mhm.
um, they get these enormous planters that they build into the condo, but they're never at the bottom level. They're always, like, on the 5th story, 4th
Right.
story, and they're enormous planters, like the one we just saw, I think, literally yesterday. It's
Mhm.
8 feet deep, 5 feet wide by 4 feet, and when you think about, okay,
Wow,
how
that's a
do
lot
you
of dirt.
right, how do you clean that out? Who's
Right,
jumping in to pull it out, you know?
right,
So just kinda understanding, what we have to go through and how expensive it becomes just to clean out one of these things.
right,
We at the same time are learning a lot, because you find that, well, if you do it by hand, it's gonna come out to one price, right? And then
right.
if you can do it by a truck that will literally, like, jet power water in and suck out the dirt, you can do it
Mhm.
at another price. But
Right.
there's not always the availability to get a truck in, so it's just, we're finding that a project that the variance is so big. We one time budgeted at, almost 30 grand. The project turned out to be almost 100 grand, you
Wow.
know? And
Yeah,
and these are just big things that were like, "Whoa," and we're learning, same thing. We learn as we go, and it's what the factors that you don't anticipate come along sometimes in that learning process, right?
yeah. The logistics, I've never thought about that. The
Oh,
logistics
yeah.
of having all that dirt and irrigation
Yep.
and, all the plant care 5 stories up in the air is a little bit different than. And actually, it reminds me, I have a great picture from actually Darling Harbour in Sydney. I was there back in November on my Australia tour, and I clearly remember walking along the quayside, and then I came across this cafe that's basically like a wedding cake, like a 3-tiered, and it had gardens on every single level. It was unbelievable. Wow. So it was fascinating to see, but now I realize why it's probably the only one on the quayside. I'm thinking, well, why don't more people do that? Well, but yeah, it was it was a circular, building, like a layered wedding cake. So it was pretty cool to see. And I have some, so I'll try and find a picture and send it to you.
Oh, yes, please do. I'd love to see it.
Yeah, it was like, of course, all the plants are in full bloom. It was lovely. So
that's on my list of places I want to go to. Haven't been to yet, but Australia is definitely there.
Yeah, I was able to do Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide, and then a small German town called Handorf. So
we have a niece that's over there right now, and she's loving it.
Yeah, it's the culturally very different. Lots of quick lessons learned on the cultural side, that's for sure. So yeah, it was good. It was got to actually meet some of the Australian guests that had been on my live shows before. So that was fun, meeting them actually in person. So that was cool.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, all fun. So talking about meeting, what are the best ways? How do you want people to reach out to you? I know you're going to add information into the comments after about East Coast and and your fiance and Jonathan and Ken's stuff on the Land Rovers and the British cars. So that would be fun.
Sure. I mean, I'm always available anytime, anybody within the South Florida market that I can help out with any landscape needs, tree trimming work, irrigation work, pest control. I mean, we do it all,
Okay.
If there's anything anybody needs, simply send me a message on LinkedIn.
Okay.
I'm always available, and same thing for them. I'll put links to their websites, and all their contact info is there for sure.
So is LinkedIn your primary platform?
I'd say for publicly, if you will.
Right.
Yeah. I don't really use Facebook or anything else, just because I'm like, let me hyper focus in one area, if at all. I know it sounds silly, but for my generation, I'm not as technologically advanced as some of my peers.
Hey,
I'm also a mom, so I try to balance between work and just life.
Right, sure. No, LinkedIn is a great platform, and talking of which, we should give a shout out to Thanes, right? So
definitely.
We met through conversations in one of Thane's groups, and then we started to follow each other's stuff. So I'll tag Thane back into this, and hopefully you'll get a chance to watch it as a replay. And again, if you are watching as replay, you can still add commentary, no problem at all. You can put #replay and then still comment. And all right, so final words before I do my outtake. What would you want to be known for from this live stream today?
Well, I'd say, I guess the biggest thing I can really say, and I'll steal a quote from one of my favorites, one of my favorite spiritual leaders that I follow, which is Sadhguru. I don't know if anybody else follows him, but I'm a big follower. When you resist change, you resist life, because change is the inevitable.
Good one. Yeah. Or go with the flow, and you might be surprised where it takes you, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I had some fun with a lady in Malaysia called Ferlin, and I gave her the hashtag fun with Ferlin or flow with Ferlin. So whenever we talk and she gets stuck and I say, are you going with the flow or are you like overanalyzing? And she's like, I'm overanalyzing.
It's so funny.
All right. Well, I'm going to do my little outtake, so don't go away. This is a brand story put together by Devin James. And Devin, I met last September in Portland after also having conversation, connection, and got to meet him in person. So don't go away.
You're frustrated that you have no time and you just hate it. You lost your mind. You're running around the kids and the spouse, and the business that was once your passion has got you burnt out. So, consult with Bruce, the guy in the blue shirt. He'll help you find the truth so that you can do you first. See, it's all about simpler, faster, better, so you can save massive amounts of time and money instead of longing for the day where you can finally kick your feet up. Do yourself a favor. Call up Bruce. He'll tell you about process cleanup.
I loved it. That's so cool.
Yeah, he's amazing. And actually, he's my guest on Friday, actually Friday night, a little later, because he's tied up with something and he's actually on Pacific, not Mountain Standard. So yeah, Friday night, Devin will be on and we'll be talking about, we had a great time literally floating in the South Columbia River on a seasonal restaurant they set up called the Deck, and it is actually a big pontoon deck and it floats in the river. And we had a lovely afternoon eating and visiting and he didn't even know it was there. So I found it and said, "Hey, can we go there?" And he said, "Sure."
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and he's a Portland native and he didn't even know it was there. So anyway, all good. All right.
Very cool.
Well, thanks again, Melissa. Good luck to Jonathan and Ken with the business, and good luck at East Coast Facilities. So just hang for a minute. All right. Take care. Thanks, everyone. All right. Bye.